A very good evening to you. Welcome to the West Ham Weekly on the West Ham Voice on a Monday night. It's welcome from me and welcome from Sushi as well. She's got her eyes open, which means she'll probably want to leave halfway through the show, as usual. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you've all had a pleasant weekend and a good start to the week. Yes, it was another defeat. Yes, we have dropped to 17th in the league. Yes, we're lucky that we've got 3 teams below us that are far worse. But ironically, I walked away from Anfield on Sunday optimistic. I actually quite enjoyed the game. I didn't enjoy the results, but I certainly enjoyed the game. And we'll talk about the game a little bit later on. And also about Graham Potter and what he's currently and what he seems to be doing with the squad and team selection. It's got some interesting team selections going on at the moment. So we'll talk in a little bit more depth about 2 players that you would have had, nailed on having them play every game, but not so. Is that the shape of how things are going to develop in the summer in terms of who he might keep and who he might let go? But we'll talk about that later as well. But first of all, let's get into the chat and see who's there and say hello to you all. Let's scroll, as I always do, all the way to the top. Good evening to you, Matt. How are you? Since 2020, we've had 3 relegation scares, 6th, 7th and 9th, and of course a trophy. How did we manage to do all that good and now flush it down the toilet? The owners should be ashamed of themselves. There was a certain man, Scott, called David Moyes, who oversaw all that success, 6th, 7th, 9th, and a trophy. But we weren't happy enough with David Moyes. We thought he had to go. Look, it was probably time for him to go. But as you probably know, the owners, or certainly David Sullivan, didn't really want to. He was quite reluctant to let him go, but he did. Fan pressure again. Bit like what happened several years back when we brought in who the other Spaniard? His name slips me. I'm sure you're going to tell me. It seems like the board tend to do knee-jerk stuff every now and again. And I just wonder, from my understanding, Sullivan wanted to keep David Moyes. Would it have been good? I don't know. Certainly the last season under Moyes wasn't great. But that 6th, 7th and 9th league position and the trophy was courtesy of that Scott. But anyway, we all know better, don't we? So I guess we move on. Look, I'm all right with Potter. I know a lot of fans are already screaming blue murder. They want him out. I've seen suggestions that now that we've only won 3 games under him in the league, that he ought to be leaving. He ain't going anywhere. This release clause apparently in his clause in his contract after a season and a half, may be accurate, but that will work for both parties. It'll not only work for the board, but it'll also work for Potter as well if he decides enough is enough. But Matt, Anthos, good evening. Ward-Prowse should be on there, or is he staying for the next 10 years in the hope of scoring a free kick? He likes Ward-Prowse, and I'm going to try and explain the logic, I think, why Ward-Prowse is playing over the likes of Alvarez and Soucek of late. Matt, I do feel like very let down by the club. Once again, 2 managers we never wanted in the first place, both being poor in the space of a season. We ain't finished yet. 5 steps back, none forward. Let's see how things develop. Matt, again, I agree with you what you said about Lucas and needs to stop the diving. It's worse than Saka, Grealish, Sterling all together. Yeah, it's such a shame. I don't like players who dive. It is something that's been brought into our game. I don't remember players diving when I was a kid. You got kicked on the shin. You had the bone sticking out and blood pouring out. And the player was going, it's all right, bring the magic sponge out. I'm all right. I'll carry on. Who was that player in the Leeds United? Was it Leeds United? Something Jones when he broke his arm or something in a cup final and he carried on playing. What's going on with these players these days? They fall over at the drop of a feather, at a touch of a feather, sorry. Toha, good evening, mate. Cool Cats and Chatters 2132. You may have been right. I was about a minute late. Sushi's got her eyes shut, so I'm sure she'll be all right. Stephen, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. How are you? Nice weekend too. Very nice, mate. And I hope you had a good one too. Matt, still in your opinion, thoughts on the division and the fan base on pretty much everything. We can't please everyone, but it's sad how people act very immature online due to different opinions. Unfortunately, that's the nature of social media. I'm afraid everyone's got a voice, but then everyone's got a that you poo out of. Unfortunately, look, I guess social media has given me the opportunity to do this. So I can't really be that critical of it, but it's such a shame. And I think the fan base, I've said this a few times in the past, I think the fan base has just imploded in itself, to be quite honest with you. Graham, good evening. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Clive. I hope you're feeling better, mate. I'm at a darts match tonight, but I enjoy the show. Good. Well, you're definitely better. Juha, half the players sold, another half to retire. Now we can play our academy. Are they good enough, though? That's the thing. Daniela, good evening to you. Everyone, who are you all? We lost on Sunday. I was happy with the way we played, and I can see things improving. Now we got games we can pick up points in. Yeah, look, I think the performance, I knew it. Give me a second. Sorry about that. Look, I was really happy with the performance as well. Yes, it was a defeat, but not in the manner. Think about the number of times we've been to Anfield of late and getting absolutely thumped and not putting any effort in, or seemingly not putting any effort in. I was not happy with the result, but the performance, absolutely. Juha, still, if there's no cats this stream, we will lose. Where you go? Sushi's just gone. We usually can draw if one cat, so possibly we need 2 or 1 to 5. They're all downstairs now. Graham, I still believe that Potter is not setting up correctly in the first half, and we need constant readjustments at half time to get back into the game. Maybe. I predicted that we'd go with a 5 at the back. I kind of knew that we would. The personnel in the middle was interesting, because normally he'd throw in a defensive-minded midfielder, someone a bit sluggish, a bit slow, whatever. But I know Ward-Prowse is not the fastest tortoise in the world, but he changed it, didn't he? Soler starting. I had an inkling. Would Soler start? When I did the preview, I said maybe, but then I couldn't see myself. I couldn't see Potter dropping either Alvarez or Soucek to allow Soler to start. So how wrong was I? Stephen, do you think Aaron Ramsdale will be signing for West Ham in the summer transfer window? All talk, Stephen. I genuinely don't think we will be targeting the goalkeeper as a priority this summer. I think we've got more other positions that we've got to definitely fill. For example, we need another centre-back. If we're going to sell Mavropanos, we need another centre-back. If Aguerd doesn't come back, we need that box-to-box midfielder that we're all crying out for. And, of course, we need a striker. So I think those are the priorities. And then if you start looking elsewhere, more midfielders maybe. If Kudus leaves, maybe another player wide, or certainly a backup player, just in case Somerville breaks down again. There's quite a lot of positions in the squad that need players need replacing much more than a goalie at this moment in time. So I don't actually believe those new rumours, to be quite honest with you. Toha, evening to you, mate. Daniela, Graham Lindsay, as we know, we're not getting relegated. Maybe Potter trying things out to see what works and what does not work. Yeah, I agree with that. I think he probably is, and he knows he's got that cushion to do so. This week's banger, you suck the flavour out of my slushy, girl, boy, you really don't. You carry on with the songs. Who else have we got here? Quebec, good evening to you. Well, I did like the way we played. It was refreshing nowadays. You can't listen to the fans. They think they know everything. Well, not all of them. Some social media are really crap. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. Yeah, we all think we're experts. Even I get carried away sometimes telling Potter what he should do. Who am I? If I was that good, I wouldn't be doing this, would I? I'd be managing a Premier League team. Angus, hello, mate. I hope you're well. I think we played well yesterday and we're unlucky not to come away with a point or something. Sorry. I also think despite the lack of points that Potter is doing okay and getting to the team to play much better. I totally agree with that. The results are not happening. The results definitely aren't. But that performance yesterday was quite reminiscent of the first few games that he took when he took over against Aston Villa in the Cup away and a few other games after that. And certainly games like Chelsea away that we deserved something from that. Arsenal away where we got what we deserved there by a 1-0 win. So there have been poor performances. There's no denying that. There have been some poor performances, but at the same time, I think there have been some good performances as well. I think we've got to look at it on balance. And let's also not forget one thing that I've not talked an awful lot about. I don't know if other media channels have done, but Potter has come in when at time he came in when Bowen was injured, and then he's had other players injured like Somerville and Fulkrug was injured. A number of players that have been injured throughout his tenure. They've only just all come back. I mean, Somerville's still not back, but more or less, most of the players have only just recently returned back. Fulkrug only came back, 3 weeks ago? Something like that. So you've got to consider that too. He hasn't had as much as I think he needs his own squad. And okay, he brought Ferguson in, and clearly I don't think Ferguson is part of the future. I really don't. But he's had to contend with quite a lot of injuries as well. Good evening to you, Anthony. I hope you're well. Who else we got? Good evening to you, Sharky. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. Stephen, how much do you think for Soucek if he leaves in the summer? I think we get about 20 million for him, and if we do, that's the money we paid for him. And given that he's given us 5 years of service, he's now 30 years of age, and if we get something like 20 mil, that's not bad, to be quite honest with you. Usual, I'll give another listen after something. No problem, mate. Good on you. Quebec in the 70s, 80s, the West Ham way was sublime, no doubt about it. Yeah, it has been in the past. We've had some fantastic players. Alan Devonshire's one of my all-time favourite players. God, if he was playing now, I mean, what would he be worth? And think about the pitches that we used to play on in the 70s and the 80s compared to the carpets that players play on now. Martin, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Anthony, why did Potter play Scarles up against Salah? That was a mismatch. If ever I saw one, Mo roasted Scarles every time he did. But as Wiggy said to me, as we were watching the game at Anfield, I kind of said the same thing to him. I said, Scarles, it's men against boys. And he's said something that was quite accurate. Well, if you don't throw him into the deep end, you never know what he's going to be like. And it's a good learning curve. And he's absolutely right. How many times do we always say, play the youth, play the youth? And now we're saying, oh, God, don't play the youth. It's one or the other. And in a way, he's got that... Potter has got that capacity, hasn't he, now, to be able to play, Scarles. And all right, yeah, he did get roasted. What a learning curve for Ollie Scarles. I bet you next time he's up against a player like him, he isn't going to afford him as much space as he did on Sunday. Robin, Liverpool manager said we deserved a point with our display. There you go. I think we all came away believing exactly the same thing. We're not deluded in thinking that. Jerry, hello, mate. How are you? I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Jason, I think all we can do is judge Potter on next season. I'm hopeful. It could turn out to be absolutely crap. We don't know. But the first thing is going to be who's going to leave and who's going to stay. Who's he going to build a squad around, and what kind of players is he going to bring in? That will give us a clear indication as to where he might be heading. It might be mid-table mediocrity. It might be a struggle, and we're fighting for Premier League survival, or it could be that we'd be good enough and start competing in the top half of the league. Who knows? Steve, good evening, mate. How are you? I hope good to see you. Steve Irons, hello, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Robin. Salah roasts most fullback players. Have to play the best to learn. There you go. And Wiggy put me right there. He said you gotta learn. So why not learn from one of the best players there? I get it. I didn't like it. I felt sorry for Ollie Scarles, but I get it. And did you see what Potter did? He didn't drag him off at half time. He said, "Go out there and another 5-10 minutes, young lad. And see if you and carry on," because it really would have been it would have probably affected affected the player if he was just taken off at half time. I respect what Potter did. He said, go out there. Potter already had plans, to change tactics in the second half, and he knew what he was doing. And we were looking at half time. We were looking at the the subs warming up on the pitch, and the only one that didn't have his like a fluorescent top on, or whatever you call them, training top on, was Soufal. And I went, Soufal coming on? Why would Soufal coming on? We're chasing the game. I didn't understand it. Well, I got it, in what he did, the tactical switch. And it was quite a clever move, because once Soufal came on and Wan-Bissaka went over to the left, I didn't even know Mo Salah was still on the pitch. We were like, Wan-Bissaka has done a job on him. He's not getting the ball. And now, of course, Liverpool had to worry about something on that side. They had free reign. Every time they got the ball, they kept spraying it to Salah, because they knew up against Ollie Scholes, Salah could probably win 9 out of 10 challenges. I mean, Scholes did all right in some cases. He got the ball off him a few times, but the way they scored their first goal, that's a massive learning curve. Obsidian, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Darren. I hope you're well. Garino, how are you, mate? Sai, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. Mark, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Yuha, yay, Sushi Style. Thank you for the cat content. Absolutely no problem, mate. Paul, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Sharky, it was a good watch yesterday, but I'm disappointed we didn't get a draw. I believe we deserved it. I completely agree. Huge, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. Potter has got to start games with our best players, and we got to start winning games. We do, but I don't really think he honestly knows who's his best players at the moment. Ironically, if you started writing down your top 11, you probably go with more or less what he had out on the pitch on Sunday. Maybe a lot of you would not go with the back five. You would have probably gone with a 4, maybe drop Mavropanos, put another midfielder in, or maybe put Fulkrug in instead, etc. And I would have got that. But Potter's not stupid. He knows that if he'd have started with a back 4, we would have probably got properly roasted. When we did, after those first 20 odd minutes, we calmed ourselves down. We were still in it. At 1-0 at half time, I went, we're still in this, and actually we've created chances and we're in this game and we're doing okay. I didn't expect to see the second half that we put out, which was fantastic. But at the end of the first half, I wasn't thinking to myself, we're going to get absolutely crushed in the second half, because I didn't see anything of Liverpool. And it's ironic, isn't it? When a top team doesn't play well, all of a sudden it's because they've taken their foot off the pedal, or nothing to do with what we've done. It's they've taken their foot off the pedal, which I find a little bit frustrating as well. Good evening, Aaron. How are you, mate? Good evening to you, Paul. How are you? Where was VR? You tell me. I think they're on holiday. Their Easter break. Steve, 17th isn't acceptable for a club like us. When Potter arrived, we were 13th. Now we're just lucky to be bottom. Lucky the bottom 3 are crap. Yeah, I get it. I understand the upset about that, but I'm not losing sleep over it. Martin, loving the pot. Thank you. Kian, how are you, mate? Have you got any? Soler annoys me. I thought he played okay. I actually thought he played pretty decently. Have you got any more special news for me? Cockney. How are you, mate? No fan pressure at all, Stel. It was 18 months of poor results. Yeah, it was. If you're talking about Moyes, by the way, yeah. But there was fan pressure. Let's be honest. It does get to the board. It may not get to the players or the managers, etc. But trust me, it gets to the board. They listen to a lot of the shit that's out there. Garina, we were poor under Moyes since the Liverpool game when Ogbonna got injured. Good shout. Yeah. When Ogbonna got injured, Ogbonna was a man mountain, wasn't he? He was one of my favourite defenders. So underrated. Yuha. Still, the comments are blocking out Sushi. Sushi's gone, mate. Sushi's already walked out the door, mate. Steve, without the glasses on, still reminds me of Captain Black from the series Captain Scarlet. Do I? I don't know if that's an insult or a compliment. Garino, Potter has been hamstrung by injuries, Fulkrug, Somerville, Antonio, etc., etc. Absolutely correct. Paul, don't understand why Ward-Prowse and not Alvarez. I understand it. Wait for it. I'll get to it later on. Garino, Paqueta unlocked the Liverpool defence several times yesterday. One of the best games I've seen him play. And yet, he was partly the reason why we lost. That's the massive irony of Lucas Paqueta. I did a short video earlier on today about Paqueta and, a flawed genius, I called him, in the sense that he mastered the midfield on Sunday. He couldn't get near him. Usually with Paqueta, he'll get the ball and he'll just give it away quite cheaply, but he held on to it and the passing was superb. And yet, him going down really easily led to their corner, which led to their goal. Cockney, Potter needs time. He has come in at a latter part of the season and took on someone else's mess, told to turn it around. He's begun to do that. We have stopped shipping so many guys. And first things first, sort out your defense, sort out that base. And that's exactly what he's done. No, how many of you thought we were going? I mean, I actually saw in the comments when I did a preview, we're going to get thumped 5-0, 4-0, blah, blah, blah. Look, I honestly think they were lucky to have won that game yesterday. I really do. And that's not me wearing my claret and blue tinted glasses. I genuinely think Liverpool were lucky to have won that game. Sharky, it's strange to me that Alvarez is not starting games. We'll talk about that later on. Cockney Potter needs a chance to build his own side. I totally agree. Mark, if we finish above Man U, can we say it's been a good season? So look at them. Oh, Amorim was going to be our saviour. Let's not forget, people. Amorim was going to be our saviour. And there was once upon a time we wanted Postecoglou as well. Toha. And played guitar for the Clash with a broken arm too, probably. That was him. Mick Jones, Leeds United. I knew it was a Jones something. I remember. I was a kid. I don't know how old I was. Was that the 71 Cup final? 70 or 71 Cup final? I must have been 8 or 9 years old. And I remember seeing this bloke fucking with a sling on, still trying to cross the ball. That was proper football, that was. Who else we got? Make West Ham great again. Potter gets a free pass whilst Everton and Wolves' new manager improve their sides. Yeah, fair play. Good shout, fair play. I get that. But how many of those teams had the injuries that Potter has had to deal with? Sushi Garino has definitely left the building. She's like, sod this. I'm not listening to him rabbit on for about an hour. Finish above Man United and Spuds will be a great season. It can still happen. Sushi's gone. Evening to you, Stephen. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. Steve, I'm convinced if Fulkrug and Guilherme had come on much sooner, we would have lost. We would not have lost. I don't know. Isn't it interesting? Guilherme, all of a sudden, one of our top players everyone's cooing about. Look, I was confused why Fulkrug didn't come on earlier. And I just think that maybe he's just not fit enough to give us more than the 20-odd minutes that he did. And hence, I don't know if he'll start on Saturday. Jerry, agree with ST. Disappointing BFG was not on at 60 minutes late. It could just be. I mean, Potter played it down, but he did mention Fulkrug in his pre-match press conference, and he talked about fatigue. He emphasised the word fatigue, not injury or anything like that. He said, "I was fatigued, etc." I just wonder, maybe he just wasn't. Something in my glasses. Maybe he just wasn't fit enough to give us much more than 20 minutes. Look, the last thing we want for Potter to do is to sling him on, and then he gets injured, and then he's out for the rest of the last 6 games, etc. We don't want that, do we? So only the coaches and behind the scenes know what's going on. They must have known for whatever reason that he can give us any more than 20 minutes, because I was confused, to be quite honest with you as well. Matt, I would rather have Trafford than Ramsdale. West Ham Fan TV reported that Ramsdale admitted during an interview he can't stay focused for a full 90 minutes. Look, it's coming out because Southampton are relegated. We've been linked with 4 of their players. Walker Peters, I think we probably will get. Harwood Bellis, maybe. I don't know. I'm not so sure. I can't remember the other one. But Ramsdale, I don't know. I bet you we don't go. I bet we don't get a new goalie this summer. I think we've got other areas that we need to focus on. Do you trust Pygmy to full support Potter's vision? I doubt it, Montana. Well, the good thing about Potter and Macaulay is they won't go out buying 25, 35, 40 million pound players. So I think when Sullivan sees the price tag for a player that's about 20 mil, he'll go, yeah, all right, that'll do. So yes, I think he will. I think the concern, of course, is the story that came out last week about all these agents that are linked, Salthouse and all that, all of a sudden going to take over West Ham's transfer business, which is a load of hogwash as well. They've always been involved, but not to the extent that it's been suggested last week, where it's almost like everything's going to go through Salthouse. Come on, people. That's not true. Yes, do I expect a player from the Salthouse camp to come to West Ham? Quite possibly, if it's the right one. What I think is really interesting is what happened in the winter transfer window when Potter was offered a Salthouse player, and I can't remember which one it was now. The guy over in Spain. I think whatever player it was, Silva, was he Salthouse? He was offered certain players and he went, no, I don't want them. There's no point, so hopefully he'll put his foot down and say, I'm not interested in these players. We've got our targets. They're not going to cost a fortune. We're going to go out and get them. The one thing that Potter has done is not only has he brought Macaulay in, but he's kept Max Hahn. Do you remember I've mentioned Max Hahn a few times before? The data guru, the data analyst who looks at players, all this data analysis that's done a little bit like what Brighton do with their sort of system, etc. Of course, it's not to the sophistication that Brighton have, but having a data analyst at West Ham United looking at the players that we're interested in will give a much more, will give us a clearer picture, or certainly hopefully give Sullivan a clearer picture when Potter says, I want this, and this player. Here's why, here's their data, here's the stats. And by the way, they only cost you 15 mil. I think Sullivan will be all right. But yes, I do think Sullivan will try, or Salthouse will try and get a player or two in. MJ, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. I'm very well. I hope you are too. Paul, need to keep Areola quality keeper. I get it. There's one thing about Areola. He doesn't command his box the same way. It's interesting. When you looked at Alisson yesterday, he kept Liverpool in the game. He pulled off 2 or 3 really, really decent saves. One with his fingertips from Kudus when he hit the bar. The other one from Soler when he was put through. The other one from Bowen. Do you remember that pass from Paquetá? Reminded me of the Europa Conference League final when he threaded the ball through to Bowen, who ran on for it and scored. And I thought, Christ, it's going to do the same. I was actually disappointed that Bowen didn't take one step further out, and then he would have slotted it into an empty net. But Alisson, he commands his box very, very differently to how Areola manages his 18-yard box. But Areola is a great shot stopper. The only one he's messed up on was last week against Bournemouth when it came out to, that wasn't a great save. But overall, I like Areola. He's a great shot stopper. Not necessarily the best in commanding his 18-yard box. But if you want a quality keeper, how much is Alisson worth? Who else we got here? Darren. Good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Steve, we need to beat the Saints at least 4-0. Anything less will be disappointing. Rubbish, mate. I'm sorry, but it doesn't matter. It's still 11 against 11. We beat them 1-0. I'm happy. We beat them 2-0. I'm happy. We beat them 5-0. I'm happy. So long as we put in a good performance. The performance at home is vital this coming weekend. We need to put in a performance similar to what we did against Liverpool on Sunday. Cockney, we're misfiring up front. We absolutely are. Sort that out and we'll do better. Absolutely. Look at the chances we had yesterday. So many chances on time. I've just mentioned about Alisson. And we hit the bar. I mean, Fulcrum hit the bar with his header. Kudus hit the bar. I think we hit the bar 3 times, hit the woodwork 3 times. Sort that out. We'll do better. Paquetá gave our front line enough chances to win it, but they're not making the best choices at present. Totally agree with that. Darren, hope Fulcrum gets a start on Saturday, gets a half on Saturday. We look a different team when he plays. I agree. We actually were playing really, really well even before he came on. But as Cockney has said, our finishing left a lot to be desired. Sharky, don't see us scoring 4 goals in the game anytime soon. Look, what gives us the right to beat any team 4-0? I love it, but I can't see it. The season is a wash. Judge him on next season's achievements, usual. Brian, Stell, do you believe Potter actually rates Alvarez more than James Ward-Prowse? Maybe there have been a falling out. Awfully strange. Interesting. I'll come back to that, Brian. Steve, Sharks, we're crap, but the Saints are, even if a team is crap, doesn't mean that we have a right to be. I love it if we do, but I can't see it. True. True Colour, based on your thumbnail, who are the replacements that could improve the squad you've got in mind? I haven't, because me, I get frustrated with all the transfer rumours and I try to steer clear of them until we're much closer to the transfer window. So unfortunately, True, I don't. I can look into it, certainly, but I can't second guess Graham Potter and Carl Macaulay. And to be honest, no one can. I know there's a lot of stories out there. You've got so many players being linked to us again. as I've said quite some time ago, when Macaulay came to West Ham, I think you're going to see a very different transfer window this summer. You're not going to see the sort of transfer window that we've had over the past 3 seasons or so, where we've gone out and spent a hell of a lot of money on, and buying big name players or players that are 30, 40, 50. It's going to be harder anyway. We're not in Europe. So there's that to consider as well. So I don't at the moment. But what I'll do is, and I am writing it down, I'm writing some scripts down, is to the type of players that could possibly come in. And then I could come back to you on that later in the week. Daniela, we're the only club in the league that's not used injuries to suggest our poor form. Everyone else has, and some, like Spurs, could not shut up about them. Yeah, and we have had some injuries, poor injuries. Mate, give Stella, thank you. Please do. If you're new to this channel, it's the first time you're watching the West Ham Voice, please do consider becoming a subscriber. Costs nothing to subscribe, and all the content is free. And if you enjoy the show, whether you're a subscriber or not, or you've hit the like button in the past, please make sure you hit the like button of this channel, of this show as well. Steve, good evening, mate. Thank you for joining. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Daz. How are you, mate? Thank you for joining. Steve, wouldn't be ironic on Saturday if Ward-Prowse breaks Beckham's free kick record against the Saints? Hold that thought. George, good evening to you. I hope you're well. I never understand why we never have the new manager bounce. Most other teams do. I can't remember us ever having one. Well, no, because apart from this season, usually we've been really fighting relegation right at the bottom. We've had to sort out the fundamentals. But when Potter arrived, the first 3 games were pretty good. Aston Villa, I think it was Chelsea away at that time. Fulham, we were lucky to kind of beat them. But there were a number of games. We didn't win many of them, but we were playing better. And then Potter had to sort out the defence. But I make you right, George. You've got a point there. Andrew, not Mavropanos' biggest fan, but fair play. He did not put a foot wrong on Sunday. Probably should have scored with that header. He played great. You just can see in his eyes, he just wants a goal. He just wants a goal to finally kickstart his season. But we're running out of games, aren't we? That's the unfortunate thing. He played really well on Sunday. He played exceptionally well. Took his players on, had chances, etc. I mean, how many players would hit the woodwork and this, that, and the other, and it's just not falling for him at the moment. But the minute he scores, for the rest of the games this season, I bet he'll go on a scoring spree. Matt. Ollie Scarles is one of our own. Let's back the young lad, then slag him off against one of the best wingers to grace the Premier League. Exactly. We shouldn't be. It was a massive learning curve for him, and he will learn a lot from that. And they'll talk to him. The coaches will talk to him. The way he got turned for their first goal, I guarantee, I will be shocked if he ever does that again in his career. Steve, Andrew, I think it was Dinos. Dinos played well, and the one thing that disappointed me is apparently, again, he got booed when he came on last week at home. How shit is that for our fan base to boo your own player? But he played extremely well. The back line played really well on Sunday. The midfield played really well. The front line played really well. But the only thing that was missing was taking the chances, as was mentioned a moment ago. Andrew, Scarles will learn, but needs to bulk up. He absolutely will, and he will do. I'm confident. Usual best wishes to Frankfurt on Thursday evening. Let's hope they do one. Jerry, I thought much maligned Mav had a solid game. Would keep him and send Casey out on loan. Casey's not making the first team next season. He will probably be sent out on loan. I don't know about Mavropanos. He's gotten so much stick that maybe there's no return for him. He would have. He'll be upset by being booed by his own fans. That's not pleasant. So I think we may well sell Mavropanos in the summer and go for other central defenders. Look at Oxford and the rest in recent years. They just need to go a good go. That's just my opinion. Well, Reece Oxford, was given a good go and he didn't live up to expectations. He's now playing in the German league for a mid-table team. Did they get relegated? They may have. I can't remember. Reece Oxford had the world at his feet sometimes, and he got ruined by the people he was hanging around with and his and his advisors. That's what ruined him. He got a little bit too big for his boots, and sometimes when players look at all the players that have left off late, none of them really made it in the big time. The only one is the young lad that went to Man City, but he's not exactly getting a lot of game time, is he? You know, um, you know, players like Declan Rice did the right thing. They came through, they bided their time, they took their chances when they could, and they developed at West Ham. Biding your time, and that's the way players should be. If you're advised that you're better than you really are by agents because they want to flog you to some other team and get a payoff for themselves, then sometimes those young players are going to fall by the wayside. Leon, evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Steve, Devo, Bonzo, Satrev gave me many happy days at West Ham. Who else have we got? Brian. Look at it this way. If Scars was able to shut Salah down yesterday, Scars would be worth 60 million. There you go. Steve, Bowen simply does not work as a striker. Goes missing, put him on the right where he visits where he's far more effective. Well, I've already done the stats on that about a month or so ago. And Bowen is as effective as a striker as he is out wide. There's not much difference to the number of goals that he scored and the number of assists when he's played up front and he was played out wide. But it wasn't a striker role that he played. Both Kudus and I would almost say they were playing two up front, but they're playing quite sort of wide and cutting in. So it wasn't a typical striker role that he was playing. Who else have we got? We hit the woodwork 3 times. There you go. Julie, good to see you yesterday. Long day to come back without a deserved point. I'm getting too old for away days. No, you're not. It was great to see you yesterday, and let's do Man United if that moves as well. So good to see you. Ambrose, good evening to you. Morning, Stel. Oh, morning to you. Great to catch up with you. Thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated. Potter needs time to, but on evidence, the trajectory so far seemed like common dend when he has inherited an injuries. He will improve us. So the common theme is, he's had injuries to deal with. He's inherited players with injuries, etc. I totally agree. I think he will improve us. He'll certainly improve the way we play. Isn't that what we want? How many people once said under Moyes, so long as we play better, I don't care about the result? What a load of tosh. Of course you care about the result. I think he will get us to play better. We might not get all the results. And what then? What then? What happens then? What happens if Graham Potter gets us to play consistently well, but we keep losing? It's all right. It's all right. We're playing great. But, the results, it don't matter because we're playing great. What a load of tosh. Toha. Apparently, if McAllister scored, VAR would look, but as it led to a corner, it didn't. There you go. But what about the push on Fulkrug? Why didn't they look at that? Andrew, if Potter was only here till the end of the season, I don't think we will be extending his stay for another season. Possibly. Dave, good evening to you. Solar is class if he played in the correct position. Ward-Prowse needs to go. A lot of running, but no results from him. It's interesting that Potter has been picking him over Alvarez of late. I think it's very interesting and maybe very telling as well. Big up, Captain Scarlett. Thank you very much. Love Pacman. Daz, we need to see what Potter does next season. Absolutely. Liverpool were poor. I think Liverpool were very good in the first 20-odd minutes. They had us under the cosh. And they didn't benefit from that by scoring any more goals. And then we got into the game. I genuinely think we deserve credit for the way we played. We put them under pressure. Steve, team for Saturday: Areola, Wan-Bissaka, Emerson, Kilman, Todibo, Alvarez, Soler, Kudus, Paquetá, and Fulkrug. Let's see what happens. Was it 1972? And Leeds won 1-0. There you go. Glennie, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. I was disappointed that we didn't get at least a point yesterday. I can't help but wonder if we could have actually won it if I'm guessing you're going to say if Fulkrug had played. Something wrong with Fulkrug that we can't get a whole game out of him. There you go, Daniela. Man United are now calling Amorim a fraud. Martin, I remember Pele escaped to victory playing with a couple of broken ribs. Not quite the same, but I get your point. Paul, they were time wasting and won with a push on Fulkrug. There you go. Brad, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Just tuned in, been watching Mastermind on Catch Up tonight. Fella on their specialist questions, West Ham. Got 9 out of 12. Well pleased with that. Give it a go. I'm going to watch that. I'm going to watch that. Thank you for that, Brad. Where's Emerson? He was on the bench. Graham, Beckenbauer played a World Cup game with his arm in a sling. Did he? That would have been 70 or 74, no? I don't remember that. James, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. It's got nothing to do with Fulkrug injury. It's to do with options off the bench. GP won't start him due to crap options to come off the bench. I don't know. I think it is more about his fitness, to be honest with you. Frog, if Fulkrug isn't fully fit, he should say, we don't possess ESP. Sharky, nice to see Man United fans complaining. There you go. Daniel, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Sorting out defense is one thing, but not playing a striker from the start is another. Goals win games. Defense just loses games with less goals scored. I get that. But as I said, I think there's something about when he talked about Fulkrug in his pre-match press conference, it made me immediately go, he's not starting him. There's something up. And clearly, if we wanted a striker, he'd play Ferguson, wouldn't he? But clearly he doesn't fancy Ferguson, that's for sure. Andrew, the prospect of losing both Paqueta and Kudus is a major concern going into next season. I'm inclined to agree with that. You'd accept losing one, but losing both of them would be scary, but maybe we might have to accept that. Chris, good evening, mate, from Bridlington. Fulkrug will be fit by 6 p.m. on the 25th of May. Glennie, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Was disappointed that we didn't get at least a draw. I think I've read this already. We gave it a good go with Paquetá having one of his best games for a while. We just seemed to fall short in attack. We absolutely did. I agree with that. Steve, if, as Stel says, we won't be paying big money in the summer, then I thought that Delap rumours are pure. You tell me, mate. Go on. What do you think, Steve? They're crap. There's a queue. We want Kelleher, the goalie from Liverpool. There'll be a queue for him. We want Delap. There'll be a queue for him. We want Jonathan David, a free transfer. There'll be a queue for him. Hopefully we'll get one of them. But no, I do not think we're paying 45 million pounds for Delap. I'd like to think that we are. We can generate the money to buy him. That's not the problem. But I just don't think, to be honest with you, that I might be wrong. But if I look at what Potter and McCauley have done at Brighton, with the kind of players that they brought in, at the money that they've never spent big bucks. They've never spent big money. Delap actually would be the right sort of player for us. Do I think Delap maybe could make it in a top 6 team? Maybe not just yet. I think he's very good, but certainly a team like West Ham, a stepping stone, unfortunately. Yes, we should be going in for him. Do I think we'll get him? Probably not. Ariola's distribution is poor. Yeah, I agree with that. Not great. Start Fulkrug, Barry. Yeah, if he's fit, and absolutely, and he can offer us at least an hour, then yeah, great. Lawson's Regis, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. The keeper is only as good as the defence in front of him. Good point as well. Usual, De Bruyne to West Ham on a free. Hammers News desperate to make this a true. Keep your mouth shut, still. Don't get in an argument with any of the other social media channels. Frog, Ariola's distribution makes every look. Dean, I'm interested to see the team he picks on Saturday against the Saints. I am too. Look, I think if Fulkrug is ready to start, I think he will start. I'm not saying that I don't want him to start or I don't think he should start. I just think it's his fitness. The last thing we want is to play Fulkrug. He gets injured and the fan base is apoplectic at the fact that he's injured and he's out for the rest of the season. I think we can only go by what the coaches know themselves. The coaches know the players better. They know what their fitness levels are at. They know what injuries or knocks they might be carrying. They know whether a player can give an hour, a player can start, or a player can only do the last 15, 20 minutes, etc. Look, David Moyes was a different kettle of fish. When he was around, he only gave players 5 minutes, whether they were fit or not. I don't think Potter is the same way. And I think people are starting to make the same sort of same comparisons to, that's what Moyes used to do. And Potter's the same. He's the only do. I don't think that's the case. I think they're looking at the players and going, what can we get out of him? Can we get half an hour out of him? Can we get 20 minutes out of him without him falling down? And I think that's what they're doing with Fulkrug. It's not that why wouldn't Potter want to start Fulkrug? You could see for the last few games that he's come on, he's made a massive difference. Why would he not want to play him? Who else have we got? Andrew, if we don't beat Southampton on Saturday, can we start getting concerned about Potter? Yeah. I'd say that would be a massive concern. Article about Kretinsky on BBC, probably about to do with the Royal Mail that he's bought, isn't it? George, Potts and Earthy in the first team next season will be 2 less signings we need to make. Potts, yes, I agree. Earthy, I'm still not sure about, to be quite honest with you. It's 50-50, whether Earthy gets kept or whether he gets sent back out on loan. You can say the same about Callum Marshall, who's had a great season at Huddersfield. Earthy's doing really well now for Bristol City. He's really come on, but I'm not so sure. I think Scarles and Potts will be our academy players in the senior team next season. Earthy, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. Lewis Orford, I think, will probably get sent out on loan as well. And Callum Marshall, who's on loan in the first division, will probably go on loan in the championship. Daniela, Andrew, all the transfer talk is just gossip from ITKs and the fan base that it changes day to day. Look at Delap, he's been linked to 6 or more clubs. That's why I can't, read too much into it at this moment in time. Dean, last new manager bounce was Trevor Brooking. It was indeed. And we got relegated that season. Paul, if we don't win Saturday, we're in serious trouble. We're not going down. Well, we're not going down, but it won't be great. Kretinsky will bin us off. Now he has got the post office. Why? We're still making money for him. And I know I talked about this, I think it was last week or the week before, Matthew, where there was all this talk about Kretinsky. He's pissed off with Sullivan, etc. Listen, mate, he's making money. And whilst that machine, the West Ham machine, is making money on his investment, he's going nowhere. Boleyn Lounge, good evening, lads. I hope you're well. Transfer gossip is hilarious sometimes. Delap's release clause has dropped by 25% already. There you go. Matthew, we ain't buying anyone over 25 million unless there are certain interested parties involved. That's what I said, Matthew. I'm glad you agree. Daz, Mavropanos is pony, but he did play well. He played really well yesterday. I don't think there was a player that didn't play well yesterday, to be quite honest with you. Matthew, Bone ain't going to upset his next employer. I don't think Bone is... Frog. Need more than one game to convince me of Mavropanos. Oh, yeah, fair play. Andrew, booing your own players. How far behind am I? Not far. Booing your own players is crap. Vincent Defoe being an exception to the rule. Darren, I was there last Saturday in the Bournemouth game. I agree. It was crap to hear him being booed. Did well on Saturday, but also agree that he must be upset by it and would not be surprised if he wants to go. Why would you want to stay? Kin, if Scarles has had Cresswell next to him, would have been different. Didn't get the help he needed. That's a really good point. And I've been talking about Cresswell and how he's been helping that young player. And that's a really good point. Cresswell would have probably been guiding him a bit more. He didn't get that from Kilman. Kilman doesn't like playing on the left side of a 3-man defence. Kilman is better off on them in the middle, which is why I think in the transfer market, we're going to go and get ourselves a left-footed. I know we've got a Gerd, but I don't think a Gerd will stay. And I think we will go and get ourselves a left-footed centre-back so Kilman can play in the middle and Todibo on the right. Lawson. That formation does not work. It's too defensive. Potter is not a progressive coach. Says a lot when we keep playing Bowen up top. I don't mind it if we're playing 3 at the back and 2 wing backs, which is what we were doing on Sunday. So all of a sudden, that is a different feel. And when we were chasing the game, and then when he brought Fulkrug on, he was brave enough to change it to a back 4. I don't mind it if it's a 3 and 2 wing backs. I don't mind it. But if we're defending as a 5 throughout the whole game, then yeah, I get your point. Good evening to you, Josh. I hope you're well, mate. I'm very well. I hope you are too. Dean, I struggle to understand the number of long, aimless punts from back to front when he had Kudus and Bone up there. I didn't like that. Thank goodness he changed it throughout the game, because at the start of the game, we were saying the same thing. What's the point? Bone ain't going to, like Van Dijk is about 10'5" and Bowen is 6 foot or whatever. He was never going to win any of the balls, and we couldn't understand that. I agree with you, and he changed that at least in the second half. Jerry, to be honest, under Potter, I think the team has improved. I think the players have improved. The results, no. I agree with that, and it's unfortunate because the results are what counts. But you're absolutely right, Jerry. I think there's the play overall. On balance, the play has been better than people say. Andrew, still hoofing those diagonal long balls. Well, they weren't even diagonal in the first half. They were straight up the middle. Martin, I really hope Potter works out next season, but I don't think he will. Hope I'm wrong. Graham, JWP doesn't get booked because he rarely tackles. David, I saw a stat on tonight's Sky match. Apparently, on tonight's Sky. Match apparently West Ham hit the woodwork 16 times this season. I agree Potter needs to be given a chance to bring his own players. Enjoy your show. Thank you very much, mate. 16 times we've hit the woodwork. I didn't know it was that bad. Lee, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Josh, I understand the anger after what feels like a fall from grace after a few years in Europe and recent success, and it hurts losing so often, but we need to give Potter next season at least. I totally agree, Josh. Anthony, strange how the ref gave a free kick to Liverpool when Van Dijk booted Robertson in the neck. No West Ham player was involved. Well, Liverpool, you know. Funky T, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you very much. What's going on with Cutter? Still doesn't like what he wants. Still doesn't look like he wants to be here. Seems to be lazy in the last couple of games, not running. I've got to be honest with you. I think he's endeavour-wise, the amount of input he's had. One of the conundrums with Kudus is he doesn't track back. So where best to put him? We'll put him up front. Put him further away so he doesn't have to worry about tracking up, going back. And I get that. Potter has been quite clever about that. He's gone, you stay up there, and we get the ball to you when we can. And I think, Kudus only comes alive when he's in the latter half of in the latter third of the opposition's half, and he's not great at the back. But then against Nor Paktar. I believe Delap has a 30 million release clause. 30 mil, we'll get him. Well, so long as no one else pays for him, we'll get him. No problem giving Potter time, Frog. But bear in mind, if Loppy had the same games points ratio as Potter, we'd already been relegated. Yeah, good point. Natasha, good evening to you. I hope you're well. West Ham have got to beat Southampton. Let's hope so. Victor, do we need a new goalkeeper or a new goalkeeper? I've said this. I did say it some time ago. Is it the goalie? I mean, when Areola arrived at West Ham, we were like, what a great keeper he is. And do you remember when we were all saying, when's he going to get his chance? He should be our number one. How long is Fabianski going to be our number one for? And now he's like, crap. Well, he's not, is he? Goalkeeping coach. Good point, Victor. Brad, I can understand to a point Fulkrug being eased back in, but for the life of me, I cannot understand why Tadebo's incapable of playing 90 minutes. Very strange because he too is carrying some kind of knock that only sees him playing 60, 70 minutes at a push. Let's hope these niggles get sorted out in the summer. I just wonder, Tadebo, does he need some kind of operation or something to fix something? Maybe he does. I don't know. I don't know what the ailment is. Don't know what the injury is. But apparently he's also carrying something that doesn't see him able to play a whole game. Delton, I don't think Fulkrug is injured because he's played 45 minutes previous 2 games. I'm worried about Potter's tactical astuteness and winning mentality. I don't know, mate. Why would Potter not want to play him? Because Potter himself can see that he's been good when he's come on. I think it is more to do with fitness. Bolin, if we beat Saints, Potter will have exactly the same points per game as Lopetegui. Daniela, Andrew clubs I've seen connected to Delap are Man United, Forest, City, Spurs, West Ham, Arsenal, Everton, Villa, Newcastle, Chelsea. Look, the one thing that we can offer him is game time. Man United, maybe. Forest, maybe not. Man City, probably not. Spurs, yeah, probably. Arsenal, probably not all the time. Everton, maybe. Villa, maybe. Newcastle, maybe. Chelsea, maybe. We're one of the few teams listed there that can offer him game time. Christine, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Greg, Fulkrug was always a sub for Dortmund. He has rarely played 90 minutes. He was sub for the Germans as well. Good point. Andrew, we definitely ain't signing Delap. Looking at that list, exactly. Greg, why would Delap come to the club that finishes 1 slot above the drop? Well, this season we are, but what about next season? Delton, Guilherme looks promising. I hope Potter can bring him through. There you go. When we talk about not giving players a chance, then why Guilherme over others? He's done well, hasn't he? Now that he's been given the chance. I don't think it's anything to do with Potter not wanting to play Fulkrug. I think he does. If Fulkrug's fit, he'll play him. And the same with Guilherme. He's been given his chance. Ian, good evening, mate. Thank you for joining. Much appreciated. David, what would be refreshing is to hear a new signing before the season ticket renewal deadline instead of the retried rubbish. Good luck with that one. Josh, I think Potter is creating good foundations, but we just cannot score or get a win. I so badly do not want to see another manager go. I don't think he will. I think we're not like that, West Ham United. We're not that sort of club that keeps changing, chopping and changing our managers every 6 months, every year, etc. So I think he will be given a chance. Montana, the best chance we have is for Walker Peters and the Ipswich keeper. I think we're getting Walker Peters. I can see it making an awful lot of sense that we will get him in. Matthew, it's Monday. All the ITKs come out with the epic signings, but don't worry. Come Friday, we're giving Ings a new deal. Spot on. You know, it absolutely is spot on, that comment. When you're so right. The ITKs say this is, well, you know, we're definitely 100% interested in player X, Y, and Z. And then by the end of the week, it's like, well, no, player X, Y, and Z. Well, we didn't say we were really interested in him, but we'll give Danny Ings his new deal. Yeah, exactly. Victor, we need to give Potter time, We need to give Potter time. Who trusts Sullivan to get next appointment right if Potter goes? Yeah, there you go. Well, she gave Brady the job this time round, didn't he? Gave Brady the job this time round. Best wishes to Real Madrid on Wednesday. Even we're all Real Madrid fans on Wednesday, aren't we? Imagine if they turn that round. Matt, thanks for the show still. Got to go walk the dog. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated, Matt. Thank you for commenting as well. Charles, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Is it Tebow not playing 90 minutes due to his childhood injury that where he may not walk? You know what? I don't know anything about that. And now you've got me think, are you serious? I'm going to look into that. I didn't know anything about that. It might well be. How did he pass his medical then? Daniela, still, I'm going to be straight up and honest. I think the fan base just needs to stop the hysteria at times and chill out a tad and give the management team a bit of time to get it right. I totally agree. Mark, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. No problem for joining late. Thank you for joining anyway, mate. Can we say we aren't great in attack as well as general play? Stats on Sky say we're worst attacking stats because Potter hasn't got his men, etc. Yeah, perfect. Good point. Josh, I think it's easy to draw parallels to play points per game under Lopetegui, but these are different circumstances. Potter inherited this mid-season. Team is in a bad place with terrible morale. More to it than stats alone. Very good point. Mark, Forest finished 17th last season, not far from relegation, and now they're third. We're 17th right now, and God, do I wish we can do a Forest. Why not? Why couldn't we? Really good point, that. I really thought that Forest were going down last season as well. Matthew, we still have a certain person having the final say next season. We're in a relegation dogfight. Let's see. Right, let's jump into some other news, shall we? Where am I going with that? Put the comments back up on there. Right. So very, very quickly. So the women's team, no games because international break. But Shakira Martinez is the first West Ham United women's team player to win the Barclays Women's Super League. By the way, after this, I'm going to go back to talking about the game, and I'm going to go back to talking about what we're doing with the likes of Alvarez and Soucek. So bear with me. I'm going to give you a bit of general updates, and then we'll get back to that. Shakira Martinez, first West Ham United women's team player to win a Barclays Women's Super League Player of the Month award. The 23-year-old has made an instant impact in her first months in England's top flight, having signed for West Ham in the summer and spent the first half of the season on loan at German side Freiburg. Scoring 5 goals in 8 appearances, Martinez has played in every competitive match since her women's team debut in January against Chelsea. Notching twice against the Blues and netting away at Arsenal, as well as a consistent pace and trickery, blah, blah, blah. Well done to her. The under-21s were back in action. And after their pretty poor defeat against Crystal Palace last week, the under-21s came from behind to secure at least a top 5 seeding in the Premier League 2 table with a 1-1 draw against Middlesbrough at the Riverside Stadium, setting up a home tie in the upcoming playoffs. It was the worst possible start for them. They fell behind in the opening minutes, but the response from Mark Robson's side was immediate, with the equaliser soon following, and it came courtesy of an excellent long ball from captain Lewis Orford from almost the halfway line. Orford executed a perfect volley pass over the top into the path of Kamari Swire. One-on-one with the keeper, Swire kept his composure and put the ball in the net for a 1-1 draw. So well done to them. The under-18s? Under-18s suffered a frustrating 3-1 Premier League South defeat to Reading at Little Heath on Saturday afternoon. Despite enjoying long spells of dominance and creating a host of chances, the visitors scored in the first 3 minutes. And on the 29th minute, a superb deep cross from Riley Hagen picked out West Ham's number 9, Josh Landers, who steered the ball a brilliant header low into the corner to draw the Hammers level and notch another goal in his impressive run for. I think since he's been here since January, I think he's scored something like about 7 or 8 goals since he's arrived. So well done to him. Despite dominating, Reading went 2-1 ahead just before the break, and West Ham went a player down in the second half and had to finish the last half an hour 10 against 11. But it was Reading who struck again before full time to add insult to injury, and we had another player sent off in injury time. This was a dress rehearsal for the forthcoming cup final between these two teams. I've got a feeling West Ham won't slip up again against Reading in the manner that they did at the weekend. The under-18s are back in action again on Tuesday with a visit to Southampton. Some loan news. Well, our loan players are doing okay. There were 7 loan players out in action at the weekend. The first on his third consecutive. Oh, let's put that back up. On his third consecutive start for Bristol City, George Earthy delivered yet another man of the match performance as Bristol City moved 4 points clear in the race for a championship playoff place with a 1-1 draw away at QPR. QPR took the lead, but less than 10 minutes later, Bristol City hit back with an excellently worked goal. Earthy's finish was just as impressive as he let the ball roll across his body and just poking it past the keeper. With Middlesbrough suffering back-to-back defeats, a draw means that 5th place Bristol City go 4 points clear in the race for the playoff places. Wouldn't that be great if George Earthy can steer a team into the Premier League? That'd be fantastic. Staying in the Championship, defeats for Luton Town and Cardiff City meant that a 2-2 draw at home for Freddie Potts' Portsmouth against relegation-threatened Derby County now moves them 4 points clear of the drop zone. At Huddersfield Town, Callum Marshall was a sub with 25 minutes remaining, but Huddersfield were already 3 goals down against Burton Albion. The 3-0 defeat means that Huddersfield are 8 in 13 league have been defeated 8 in 13 league matches, saw them slip to 9th place, further denting their promotion. Now, they were doing really well, and Callum Marshall's goals were helping, but they've slipped away in the last few weeks. In the race for League 2, automatic promotion, Patrick Kelly's Doncaster Rovers were unable to capitalise on defeats for Bradford, City and Walsall, as Doncaster were held to a 1-1 draw. In the Vanarama National League, Reagan Clayton came off the bench with 20 minutes left as Dagenham and Redbridge salvaged a 1-1 draw at home to Hartlepool. And in the division below, despite taking the lead, Mason Terry's Hornchurch fell to 3 second-half goals at home to Truro. Overseas, Mohamedou Kante, remember him, was a substitute as Paris FC scored their 9th win in 11 games to cling on to the second and final promotion spot in League 2. And Kurt Zuma, remember him? He's still on loan. He's still a West Ham player. Following a month on the sidelines, he played the full 90 minutes in Al Aroba's 2-0 defeat to Saudi league leaders Al Ittihad. So, we've given you a brief update on what's happening with West Ham. We've commented on all responded to all the comments. So let's talk about the game itself, shall we? We've kind of already done that to a certain point, but you know what I'm going to do, don't you? Because I'm going to put a short break on so I can have a drink of water. So, match review. We've kind of done this, but let me just give you a quick rundown. So, the team news, the lineup was interesting. 2 changes to the game against Bournemouth, where, as I predicted, Potter went with a back 5, with centre-back Dinos Mavropanos coming back into the team, and Spanish midfielder Carlos Soler, both featuring from the start. And that was at the expense of Edson Alvarez and Thomas Soucek. We knew the kind of pressure that Liverpool would put us under. So we had to be as tight as possible in the back. And I don't begrudge Potter for 1 minute playing 5 at the back. I think it would have made total sense. Now, in all honesty, what did surprise me was that Ollie Scholes maintained his place to face Mo Salah. We've talked about this again already. Now, to be honest, yeah, Mo Salah taught him a bit of a lesson, and it led to their first goal. But as I've already said in the show earlier on, I don't mind Scholes playing in this game. And the reason why I don't mind it is because these are the games where Potter knows he can experiment. He's got that cushion. He's got that kind of a safety net. Would he care? Of course he'll care if we finish 17th in the league. But in terms of what he's planning for next season, he can afford to play Scholes in this game and give him that experience. And as I said during the game, when I mentioned this to Wiggy, he was standing next to me, I said, well, I don't understand it. Why has he put Scholes on? Why is he playing Scholes and not Emerson, who's more experienced? And Wiggy said, if you don't learn from these games, when will you learn? This is the kind of game that you will get, it's a good learning curve. Look, we played a high line, which Scholes got caught out in. Too tight on Salah to allow him to easily dummy and run past him. Critical of their first goal for me is, yes, okay, Scholes, didn't get closer to him, allowed him to get past him too easily. But I'm also quite kind of surprised that Aaron Wan-Bissaka didn't keep up the pace with goal scorer Diaz. Diaz just ran straight past him. Wan-Bissaka couldn't keep up. And we know Wan-Bissaka has got pace on him. Defensively, yeah, it started off out on the right side where Salah beat Scholes quite easily. But we didn't have enough cover in the middle. We should have had players there to cut that ball out. But anyway, not a great start. But then we are away to Liverpool. They bossed the first 20, 25 minutes without a shadow of a doubt. But we settled and we got ourselves back into the game. We had chances to make the game level. As already said, Kudus, he hit the bar. And I think Soler, he had a chance in the first half. Was it another Paqueta's pass? I think maybe. He had a great chance. Great ball played through to him. But he had Alisson to beat. And Alisson was on form. I mean, how much they missed him. They really needed him. He kept them in the game. Soler, I think, actually played quite well. And he added something different to the midfield. I still don't think Soler has done enough to stay at West Ham United next season, but I kind of like what I saw from him. And even late on in the first half, Dinos had a free header from a corner, which flew over the bar as well. We had our chances. We hit the bar, the Soler chance, a Dinos header, etc. And at half-time, when it was only 1-0 down, I turned around and said, we're in this. We've actually started to play really well. The 20 odd minutes in the last 20 minutes of the first half, we were giving them a game. We were creating chances, and we were in it. We didn't have to cower. We didn't have to collapse. We weren't looking like a team that was going to collapse under the Liverpool pressure. And look what's happened to us in the past. When we conceded 1, we could see 2, 3, 4, 5, and that didn't happen. We didn't look like a team that was going to concede that many more goals. The second half started off where we left off. We were at it, and then a tactical switch by Potter got us even more on the front foot. And this is when people are critical of Potter, and saying that he's doing the same mistakes, etc. I don't really know. With the greatest of respect, everyone's got their own opinion, and their opinion, you believe in your own opinions. But my opinion is he changed it. He's not afraid to change it, and he changed it. And like people are saying about, why didn't Fulkrug play earlier? If he could have brought Fulkrug on 55, 56, 57 minutes, he would have done. But what he did was, as we know, he brought Soufal on, and then he changed. He put Wan-Bissaka when we all thought that, okay, if he's going to bring Scholes on, he'll definitely bring... if he's going to take Scholes off, he'll definitely bring Emerson on. But he didn't do that. He moved Aaron Wan-Bissaka over to the left, put Soufal on the right, because that meant two things. The first thing it meant was, all of a sudden, the minute Aaron Wan-Bissaka was out on the left side, where was Mohamed Salah? Didn't see him do anything in the second half. He went really quiet. And also, what it did do, it gave us an attacking threat down that left side. Now, when people complain about a back 5, this is what I mean when I say you play it as a back 3 and you play your wing backs and you push your wing backs forward. That means that you've got that intact. What can happen then is your midfielders and your strikers and everything, they can condense in the middle. And you've got the wing backs marauding forward and getting that ball over. That means you've got more targets in the middle. That's why I don't mind necessarily playing a sort of a back three, back five formation. Because when you're in attack, it means that your two fullbacks are going forward. You've still got that defense at the back. I don't mind that. I don't mind that. Yes, absolutely. If you're playing a back five and all you're doing is defending deep as a five, then of course you're not going to have anything in attack. And I get that. But the player that really, there were players who played really well. I think Wan-Bissaka going out on the left was a bit of a masterstroke, and it gave Liverpool's defences something to worry about. And it also meant that Salah was kept quiet. And our relentless drive got us the equaliser that we did deserve. We should have shut up shop then, but we didn't. But we deserve to get that equaliser. I don't care if it came off them. It was Wan-Bissaka who created the chance. He got the assist, and the confusion in the middle of the box, and it went in for us. But no less than we deserved it. We deserved that. Now, the player who I think played superbly, and he has been given a lot of stick by me and by many other fans in the past, is Lucas Paqueta. But here's the conundrum with Paqueta. What was good about him is he dropped the tactical switch meant that he could drop deeper. He dropped about 5 yards deeper, 10 yards deeper. And then he started to spray the ball around. He could look up, see where players were running. Wan-Bissaka running one way, Bowen running another way, Kudus in the middle, etc. All of a sudden, he had a number of players that he could target. And he was pinging that ball to these players, point perfect. And it was great to see. But here is the conundrum with Paqueta. You drop Paqueta deeper, and all of a sudden, Paqueta becomes as much a liability as he becomes an asset. He's a great asset when he's spraying the ball forward, looking for players to pass to. But when he messes around, and he's done it so many times, when he's just outside our 18-yard box and he loses the ball, that's when we're in trouble. And unfortunately, it wasn't a foul on Paqueta. Who was it? Was it McAllister that got the ball off him, and then it went for a corner? That's the sort of thing that we suffer from. Now, interestingly, if we'd had someone who was a bit of a protector of Paqueta, maybe someone like Alvarez, maybe when Paqueta loses the ball, Alvarez would have been there to clear it up, because James Ward-Prowse isn't that sort of player. So in that respect, I did wonder, why did he not play Alvarez? So I'll come to that in a moment. But we deserved to get back in the game. Kudus was industrious. I like what, you saw him up close, getting the ball, the way he can beat the players, etc. He looked fantastic, and he was unlucky not to score. But as I've mentioned, the return of Alisson for this game was key. He pulled off a number of really, really good saves. And on 73 minutes, Potter made further changes. We were chasing the game, and Fulkrug and Guilherme came on for Soler and Todibo. And that's where we went with 4 at the back. And we carried on playing well. We carried on pressing. But then the killer punch, wasn't it? The fact that we went 1-1, and then within minutes, it was 2-1 to them. And that was gutting. It was really, really gutting. So what I take away from that game is I take a lot of encouragement from that game, to be quite honest with you. I think we deserved we played extremely well. I think we deserved more than just the one goal. That we deserve more than just a defeat, unfortunately. But that's the way it goes. But I take a lot from that. I take a lot from that game. I believe that it's another springboard to build from. Yes, we should be beating Southampton, to be honest with you. We should be at home. And if we play anywhere near to that sort of level that we played against Liverpool, then Southampton should be a good win. Should it be a 4-0 win, Steve? I don't know, mate, but certainly it should be a win. But let's focus on Potter's squad changes and what he kind of did. I'm looking at, I was surprised, to be quite honest with you, that neither Alvarez or Soucek started the game. But I was even more surprised that they didn't even get any play time in that game. Now, interestingly, what that did was by not having them, it was a bit more agile. And someone asked me a question of why is Ward-Prowse preferred over, or is Ward-Prowse preferred over Alvarez? And I think I know why. You know, what Graham Potter likes is he likes technically gifted players, players that can pass the ball really well. And James Ward-Prowse does that. James Ward-Prowse can pass the ball really well. He may be passing it sideways and backwards most of the time, but he can pass the ball really well. And so can Paqueta. Both of those players are technically, one may argue. See, Alvarez is a bit of a bruiser. He's someone that closes down players, opposition, etc., gets in your face. But he's not the most, I don't know, him and Soucek, you could argue, technically, you could probably argue that Ward-Prowse and Paqueta are more technically are better. And maybe Soler with the runs that he does, more sort of direct runs, more attacking runs. I kind of get why Alvarez and Soucek didn't play. Because we were encouraging. It meant that we just had to go one way. We had to take the ball. We had to take the ball out and drive it forward. But what of the future? And what might that say for what happens with the likes of Soucek and Alvarez in the summer transfer window? I think it's interesting that, I've said, I think Ward-Prowse is preferred because of his technical ability, moreover, than these two players. But when I think about the number of games that these two players have had over the past, month or so, there's a big issue here. Alvarez, for example, he started this season. He started 19 of 27 Premier League games that he was available for. The other ones he was suspended and injured. So 27 games. He's only started in 19. The last time he played a full game was the 1-0 defeat to Brentford back in mid-February. Mind you, he did play 88 minutes in the away game against Arsenal. But since then, he hasn't completed a game and didn't take part in either Merseyside game. He didn't take part in the Everton game, and of course, in the game against Liverpool on Sunday. Now, there is apparent interest from several clubs around Europe for this player, Alvarez. And if we are looking at maybe cashing in on some players in the summer in order to generate funds, we could get maybe 45 million for him, give or take, with interest from clubs. I think Marseille were interested. I think Bayern are interested, and they'll probably pay that sort of money for him. We got him for 37, 38 million. So getting a small profit on him, I think, would make sense. And I can see that possibly happening. And then when it comes to Soucek, now I was pretty much convinced that Soucek would start at just about every game, even under Potter, but not so. He's completed just one game in the last 5, which was the 1-1 draw against Everton, where, of course, he scored. Now, he's been a mainstay in the starting lineup. And ironically, every time he doesn't play or he doesn't start, we don't tend to do that well. But it was a major surprise that he didn't feature at all in the game against Liverpool at the weekend. Now, Potter has probably got other ideas, and maybe what people are saying about Soucek's lack of technical ability, maybe that's what's happening. Maybe Potter is looking at a completely different type of central midfield in the summer. And it looks as if Alvarez and Soucek could possibly be the players that are likely to make way for other players to come in. 45 million for Alvarez, 20 million for Soucek. All of a sudden, there's your 65 million to go and get yourself 2 or 3 midfielders, plus other players. I've said before, we're going to probably lose one of Paqueta or Kudus, and it quite likely is going to be Kudus. We get our 85 million asking price. I know people don't think he's worth that, but we get our 85 million for him, plus that 65 million that we can get for Alvarez and Soucek, all of a sudden you got what, 140, 150 million there. A Gerd, another 20, 25 million. There's 170, 175 million. All of a sudden you've got your war chest, haven't you, by moving those players on. And then you can go and get yourself 175 million will buy you, in Graham Potter's world, will buy you about 5-6 players up to 20, 25 million pounds each. And that's what I think is likely to happen. So I think it's quite interesting. You look at the stats, as I've said, over the past few weeks, and you look at the two players that I've mentioned, both Alvarez and both Alvarez and Soucek, and all of a sudden you're seeing these players. They're not playing as often as they have been. And they could be players that will be leaving. Someone asked me earlier on, who do I think would be replacing them? So I will do a bit of research on that, because what Potter wants is technically gifted players. You have a look at what he had at Brighton. You know, the midfield, he had McAllister there as an example. He had those technically gifted players at Brighton. And I think maybe that's what he's working towards for West Ham this coming summer. And it could be that Alvarez and possibly Soucek won't fit that bill. Interesting to see what you guys think. Let's scroll down. Bournemouth versus Fulham tonight. Bournemouth 1, Fulham 0, full time. Mark, Potter is to use a formation that has wingers. One thing I keep noticing is we aren't having that threat out wide when he uses 2 up front. Use a 3-4-3, but 2 wingers instead of 2 number 10s. Yeah, good point. When is the Premier League 2 Cup final against Reading? Hopefully their form is returning. I don't know, Frog, but I'll find out. Darren, been watching. I've been watching. Daniela, Fulham, like us on Sunday, deserved the draw. There you go. You don't always get what you deserve, do you? West Ham versus Reading is live on the club's YouTube channel tomorrow. We're not playing Reading tomorrow, the under-18s. Reading, we played at the weekend. We've got Southampton tomorrow, Sharky. And that will probably be live on the channel. Budgie, Clive, I thought you were playing darts. Smash the likes, you bunch of wrong-uns. NWO, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. We was robbed. Yeah, I think we were. Toha, you must have used neutrals before usual if there's no auto-corrected. Don't know what you're talking about. You just carry on. Hammerette, where have you been? I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. I hope everything's okay with you. Frog, to Clive, NWO. As soon as it went 1-1, the ref started giving them decisions. I'm glad I'm not the only one that kept suing that. Trust me, I felt quite bad, because when I'm at a game, I get a little bit heated up, and certain swear words come out aplenty. And I'm not proud of it. I'm an old man. I shouldn't swear, but I had kids in front of me, and I saw the dad turn around at one point as if to say, come on, mate. And I was like, I felt guilty. But then, you know, you're at a football match. When I used to take my daughter to football, the first thing I used to say to her was, all that swearing, get used to it, darling. You know, we're at a game. And she would laugh and go, all right, Dad. You know, so unfortunately, I feel guilty, but you got to tell your kids you're going to a football match. There's going to be some effing blinding and seeing going on. Toha. And so in other words, mate, I agree with you. You know, the ref started giving them a lot of decisions. Toha, bloody hell. HH, you usually do an Irish goodbye this time of night. Who else have we got here? Trodge, good evening, mate. How are you? Thank you for joining. Gary, you're very late. I'll go back and start from the beginning later. NW, Scars on Salah was a mistake. Well, we've talked about this. You know, I get it, but, you know, he's got to learn. That was the hard learn. I hope he's learned a lot from it. Ernest, good evening to you. I hope you're well. What a player Fulkrug is. When he's fit, he's fantastic. Ernest, again, bring back Moyes. Potter, no good for us whatsoever. We would have got a draw if Moyes was here and a point. Would we? Well, we lost 5-1 when Moyes was in charge and took us to Liverpool, mate. So I'm not sure how you work that one out. Andrew, we start games way too slow. This is where Potter must improve. Yeah, agree. What has Stein done now? Tell me, what has he done now? Who else we got? Frog. If Potter is doing what I've convinced myself he will be good next season. If he isn't, we're screwed. Let's see. Who else have we got here? Trodge. Wan-Bissaka can play in all positions, I reckon, even goalkeeper. And when we get Walker Peters in, Walker, WB, WP, I mean, and then they'll be switching over. God, that'll be a nightmare, won't it? Walker Peters right back. No, he's not. He's left back. No, that's Wan-Bissaka right back. No, he's not. He's on. You know what I mean. Foxes, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Bolin. If Potter's aim is to produce the football of our recent second halves, everyone's on board with that, ain't they? You're asking a question. Yes, of course we are. It's the first half. We probably, even in the first half, I think we played all right. First 20 minutes, I think, as someone just said, we started off slow, but we were in it. Like after the 25 minutes, we were in the game. You know, it's not as if it was only the second half. We were in it. Clive, Kieran is doing well. Thanks for asking. We'll be back on Wednesday. Oh, I hope everything's okay. Trodge. I was happy we played football on the ground and controlled midfield second half. Not seen that at Anfield for a long time. It was impressive. It was good. It was a joy to watch. It was disappointing, the result, but it was a joy to watch. Usual. Instant gratification is all the rage. Carpe diem, tempers fugit. Potter must be given next season, in my honest opinion. Absolutely agree. Trodge. Yeah, Frog. We keep the ball. We kept the ball. Do that with better players. Could work. Why not? Absolutely. Andrew. If someone offers us 30, 35 million for Alvarez, it's a no-brainer. I think he's going for more than that. I think it'll be 40, 45 million. I really do. Daz. Potter needs next season, then see what happens. Ernest. I got a lot of homophobic abuse on E20 Zone and Hammers chat. Was very upset, but love still Budge and Kip. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, mate. No one should get that kind of abuse from anywhere. Clive, still, do you fancy joining Kieran and I on Wednesday? It would be great to have you there, mate. I'll check if I can. I absolutely would. No problem. Trodge, loved Alvarez as he has a heart of a lion, but might be best to part ways now. No, don't laugh. No, I'm serious. You know, I think we will get that sort of money for him. I know you may not think he's worth it, but I think clubs will pay that sort of money. I don't think it will be as low as that. I really don't. Be sad to see Soucek go. Agree, but you know, for the better of the squad, it might have to be. Soucek and Ward-Prowse need to go. Seriously, do Ralph? I think Ward-Prowse may be kept. I think at this moment in time, I think may be kept. Ernest, I hear we're going for 4 Southampton players. Well, we're not. So don't worry about it. Andrew, and Alvarez is overrated, in my opinion. Not consistent enough. Well, yeah, probably that. But Marseille we're interested in him. I think Bayern are interested in him. And I genuinely think we'll get 40 or more for him. Alvarez is not suited to the Premier League. I disagree with that, to be honest, Trod. I think he is suited to the Premier League. But you know, our Dutch mates, West Ham Dutch fans, did say to us, you know, you watch him, he'll be great, but he'll get booked all the time and he'll miss a load of games because he'll be suspended. Bolin, yeah, 4 Saints players, David, Delap, Omarodian, a couple of midfielders, and I've missed off. Omarodian, what's he, 60, 70 million pound, Delap, 40, 45 million, David, you know, am I warming to those rumours about Jonathan David? Clive, what am I reading? I can promise you that anyone on our shows who does that or anything like it will be removed from the chat permanently. Absolutely. Totally agree. Let's scroll down a bit. Hammerette, just want to watch a game in Claret and Blue and get excited. Saturday, be there. You know, if we play anything like we played on Sunday, it'll be a good game on Sunday. On Saturday, sorry. Ernest, Clive, great. It's great to hear. Always enjoy your shows. Thank you very much, mate. Who else have we got? Kalispera to you for Dakis, Tiganis. Olakala. Olakala. Everything okay in Greek? There you go. Diganis, how are you? There you go. Teaching you a bit of Greek as well. Mind you, that's all the Greek I know. Mark, if we do pursue moves for Rig and Banzuzi in the summer, then that's 2 brilliant powerhouse box-to-box midfielders in the team to replace Soucek and Alvarez if we sell them. I like to wish that they're true stories. I really would. Let's see. Ernest, I'm giving Potter the first 10 games next season for change. If there's none, then he can do one. He'll be grateful for that, Ernest. Michael, someone tell me how Salah got man of the match. Paqueta ran the game. Oh, Salah, you've answered it yourself, mate. Jerry, swap Alvarez for Paulina with Bayern. Isn't that who we wanted? And Fulham were taking the pee out of us with the money. At least he's played in the Premier League. Yeah. Let's all swap Ings for Kanes. We can't because he'll be leaving at the end of the season. NWO. He'll be out of contract is what I meant. JWP should be kept in an old people's home. What does Potter see in Ward-Prowse that we're not? As I've said, I think technically he sees him as one of the better technical midfielders, which is why I think he's getting more game time. Ray, I might be on my own here, but I think Paqueta shoves his ass back into the pool player instead of just moving towards the ball that he was in control of. The push on Fulkrug was marginal. I agree with you. Paqueta wasn't a free kick. A push is a push in the area. And when it leads to a goal, surely it doesn't matter how soft that push is. I don't know. For me, that's the whole idea of VAR. You need to look at it at least and make that decision, especially if it leads to a goal. I don't know. Pierino, if you want to watch a team in claret and blue and get excited, go to Villa Park. Pierino, wash your mouth out with soap, mate. Darren, if Kudus goes, then do you think Guilherme will be his replacement? No, I don't. I think Guilherme, let's not forget who we're missing at the moment, Somerville. That's why I'm beginning to think more and more that it will be Kudus leaving. I can see us probably retaining Paqueta, get another box-to-box midfielder in. So change that midfield somewhat, get another striker in, Bone out on the right-hand side. Let's not forget Somerville. So no, I think Guilherme will get more game time, but Guilherme is likely to be the backup in the future to Jared Bowen if Kudus goes. Hammer, Ernie, we don't slate other. No slate. I don't know if I saw it, but no, we don't. Absolutely not. Mark, referee pissed me off as it didn't say let us take free kicks quickly. Yet for Liverpool, it was a different story. A couple of times that happened. There was one time we broke through, we were on goal, and he called it back for a free kick. And when it was our free kick, I'm like, what are you doing, mate? Yeah, the ref. Hammer, how can Fulkrug be so fatigued after 45 minutes? Over a week ago, that could only come on for 12 minutes yesterday. I think there's an injury there. We talked about this earlier. I think there might be a little niggle that's only managing to get him to play for 20 odd minutes. Moutster, I'm late. Kudus looks overweight to me, like Soler. That was close. He didn't look overweight. I thought Kudus had a good game, to be honest with you. Trodge, ref has had a Liverpool duvet set as a kid for sure. Bolin. To be honest, I was surprised they didn't give Ward-Prowse handball. Yeah, there was that too. But I think it was how close the ball. Like it's not as if he put his hand out, was it? But we've seen them given. Yeah, Mark. Referee also gave a free kick against us when Robertson went down holding his neck when he got kicked by Van Dijk. Yeah, brilliant refereeing, absolutely top notch. And I think the best refereeing bit was when Paqueta waded into him. That was hilarious. Paqueta just took him out. And then he looked up and he went, sorry about that, mate. No wonder we lost the fucking game. NWO, McAllister tackle on Pac-Man gets given as a foul every game. It was soft. It was soft. Sean, Clive, please give you, thank you very much. Please, like I said, if you're new to the channel, please consider becoming a subscriber. Doesn't cost anything to subscribe. All the content is free. And if you can't subscribe, then at least, please hit that like button when the show finishes. Jerry, thank you, mate. Much appreciated. Good to see you. Usual. Eddie Howe has pneumonia. Wow. Good luck to him. I hope he gets better soon. Trodge, swings from one extreme to the other. Who does? Hammer it. But do you hold out much hope of him starting against Saints? No, I don't think he'll start against Saints. I don't think he's fit enough. I really don't. If someone came in for Bowen, he will be sold, Matthew. If he was sold, then we will not sell Kudus. Who would I rather keep? Ernest, it's getting late now. I'm off to bed. Give my husband night to you, mate. Ernest, have a good night, mate. Hammer it. Paqueta looks back to his best yesterday, can take that diving when it's a gifted player like him. Well, it was the dive that led to their goal. That was the annoying thing. I will ask my killer pack questions. Do it now because I'm coming to the end of the show. So if you don't do it now, you're going to miss out, Trudge. Gary, we can complain all we want about not playing this player or that player, but fact is we have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know everything. I totally agree, which is why I think that, like I said earlier in the show, if Fulkrug was fit enough, I think he would have started, or at the very least, he would have come on sooner rather than just the last 17, 18 minutes. Are you going to put that question up, Trudge, or do I say goodbye to everyone? It's an hour and 35 minutes. Shuffles in anticipation for Trudge's question. I tell you what, Trudge, you write it out, mate. I'll pour myself a glass of water while you're considering it. But I'm going to give you only a minute or so, and then I'm off to sleep. So what else have we got? No more comments. Safe and Trudge, you've let me down. No worries. No worries. By the way, I did a show earlier on. It might give you the answer there. I did a show earlier on, Trudge, that I put out around about 6 o'clock or so about Paqueta and how I actually really think that he will be kept next season and that Potter will want to build a team around him. Go and watch that. It's a 10, 12-minute video after this one. Go and have a look at that. All right. Trudge isn't going to give me the question. So thank you all for watching, people. Really much appreciated. Thank you all for the comments. Thank you all for the questions. That, as I always say, that's what makes this show. So I really, really appreciate that. Have a good week. It's only Southampton this coming weekend. We should win that, shouldn't we? I don't know if Steve's still on, but Steve wanted a 4-0 win. Otherwise, he'll be very unhappy. I don't know about that. Have a good week. There'll be other shows coming up. I've got a couple of scripts ready to do 1 or 2 other shows this week, so look out for those as well. But in the meantime, I'll see you all very soon.